If you're Will Flack, you don't just go fishing. You get up at 4 a.m., get your motor going. Get this motor going. Sun's up, shades up. Pick it, tie it, stretch it, haul it. Dang it. Let's try this school. Nope. Best restaurant ever. You were gonna be back by 3. 3-ish? 6-ish. Bonefish, 2 o'clock. Strip, strip, strip. Hit it, kiss it. That's it. Okay, your turn. Now it's a fishing trip. For those who need water to breathe. Costa sunglasses.
There you go. This is Steve Morgan and Steve Steer here on the Derwent River for the Cranka round of the Costa BREAM series. And Steersy, this is a place that is close to your heart, and of course, everyone's going to have crankers tied on this weekend. It's the Derwent River, mate. Just give us, and the guys that are watching this live stream, just give them a little bit of a snippet of what a bream fishery this joint is.
This is one of the premier bream fisheries in Australia, in my opinion. It's proven it. It's got record bags. I think Coxie and I set a record bag in a classic here of 13.77, which is a damn good bag of fish anywhere in the country. So
that's 1.37 kilos per fish average.
That's it, a 10 fish bag that went 13.77, and I don't think it's been broken since. And that was on Cranka product. So it fishes well. It's a great fishery. We love it. We've loved it, you know, coming down here all the time. We used to fish it in the ABTs, and sadly we don't get the time these days, but yeah. No, it's a great fishery.
Look, let's rewind a bit. This is the third round of the Costa BREAM series. Costa make a great product. Over 50% of ABT anglers wear these. We surveyed people at Gippsland. About 56% of people wear the Costa glasses. If you haven't tried them on, make sure you get a pair on your face because they help you see the fish. And Steersy, places like here, I was out pre-fishing this morning. I'm watching these bream in this clear water come and belt the jerkbaits. Like, that doesn't happen everywhere in Australia.
No, it's a pretty special fishery, actually. It's dark water. It can be hard to see the fish, but if you look hard, you'll see them. They're there, and they're normally big, and they like to play the game. So
now let's have a little bit of a look at your recent success business-wise. Like that Cranka crab, like the olive Cranka crab, is my favourite slow fishing lure. Yep. You cannot keep that sucker on the shelves, can you? How many olive Cranka crabs have you sold over the years? Like hundreds of thousands?
Not hundreds of thousands, but yeah, we've sold a lot of olive thanks to you and people like you. You know, fishing them. My favourite colour, to be honest with you, in this river is spotted. Yep. So spotted and brown tend to be the standout here for me. Olive works, don't get me wrong, but yeah, spotted and brown are my favourites here.
There you go. I might have to change my favourite with that last minute intelligence. Steersy, look, you have a lot of people all around the country that you support. None more so than Mark Crompton, who I think is at home just itching to be down here at the Derwent. He's got a newborn that he's looking after at the moment. And we've got a little bit of footage here from Cromo about how you fish that big 65mm Cranka crab. And before we run that footage, just give us a rundown. Like the small Cranka crab's everyone's favourite, but that bigger Cranka crab, man, that's the upgrade lure, isn't it?
Well, we've actually stopped fishing 50mm crabs down here in Tas. We're throwing 65s only. Yep. We know they catch big fish, and the big fish tend to prefer them. Yep. You can pitch them further. Yep. You know, they land with a plop, so not ideal for maybe structure fishing in around the moorings and things like that. But long casting on the rocky edges and corners, excellent.
Lastly, before we go to this footage, give us your tip for the weekend. Do you think what sort of weight you think is going to win this thing this weekend?
Look, I think normally in this system you need 5'8"-ish a day. It's been fishing pretty tough. The Classic a couple of weeks ago, I think 5'4" would have got you in the game. So look, I think 5'5", if you've got 5'5" each day, with that bit of rain, I think it'll fire up a little bit. I think there'll be some bigger fish play the game this weekend. So looking forward to seeing some good fish, some good bags.
Awesome. Well, let's roll this footage of Mark Crompton, who's not here on the Derwent, but he's going to show you how to fish those 65mm Cranka crabs. So give us the tips. If you're a beginner and you want to move into the bigger crabs, tell us what tackle and what techniques you do. Like, just run through the bigger crabs 101 for us.
Okay, so I generally run like a 5 pound straight through with the bigger crab. It gives you a little bit more flexibility on the strike, but at the same time pulling power. If you hook those bigger fish, you can just point the rod straight down, lock your drag, hold the drag, back out. They are not going to snap it unless they hit something. A 2 to 4 kilo rod, 2500 reel, the Sol 3, I tend to find the drag on that is perfect, and you can lock that down to some pretty extreme drag. So that's my choice of combo. With casting them, like I said, I tend to try and hide the drop. So I'm trying to cast past fish and then skip it back along. These things do really, they skip. You can skip cast them and you can skip retrieve them. So you can bring it back to an area where you think the fish are. So cast a long way past them and then hide, because they do clunk a bit when they hit the water. So you can kind of hide that by bringing it back and then letting them just drift nice and slow.
And I think in clear water like we have up in Middle Harbour, that's a real advantage fishing that straight through fluorocarbon, because you don't get that line shadow on the fish. So if you're throwing over a fish and you're using braid, that can be a disadvantage. So I think we've got the ideal arena to test this in today. Let's start up on the bridge here near the Roseville boat ramp.
Give it a go.
See if we can catch some fish on the medium-sized Cranka crabs.
And I'll sort of get a cast into as far down as I can, and then I'll just slowly sort of drag it along the bottom, along the pylons. There's one now. He's not a bad fish.
And how was that bite on that big crab? Different from the small crab?
Yeah, he just sort of already had it in its mouth that time. To be brutally honest, I didn't feel a bite at all. I just lifted up and he was there.
But that's normal for crabs, isn't
That
it?
is, look, it is. They don't tend to mess around with the bigger crab either, though. It's no. I don't find that the bigger fish give it that. It's just on.
Yeah. Because the little ones leave it alone, or you just sort of leave it for the big ones?
Yeah.
That's a good fish too. That's
not a bad
high
fish.
20s. And again, you're sort of not upgrading fish that size in your bag there. They're bigger than the school size fish that you normally get. So a fish like that'd be probably nearly 30 to the fork, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And it's got that crab. Let's have a look right here. See how it's got one hook on the top, one on the bottom.
He's not tasting it, he's eating it,
No,
you know.
that's right. So we are back now at the Bellerieve Yacht Club here this afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon, a little bit breezy out the front, but I've got last year's standout angler from the Tassie Tour, Adam Crick from Launceston. Adam came first in the Derwent event here, but he also came second up at St Helens, which made him by far and away the angler of the tour last year. And just only a couple of weeks ago, you won the local classic, didn't you? So you're going to be the angler to watch, aren't you? Like, let's not beat around the bush. You're the man to watch.
Well, we'll see. We'll have to see how we go. Still have to catch them every time you turn up. So, yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed with you really like fishing the little jerkbaits. I watched some of your highlights for last year, and Nicole's got a few photos that we might just run now of some of the fish you caught, some of the success you had last year, and some of your fish fighting technique. I called it the Mr. Miyagi. Explain what happens when you hook a big fish and you get that rod tip up nice and high. Is that just to keep the line clear of all of the stuff that's on the bottom?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that was from St Helens. So the bottom was really weedy there. So you just have to try keep the fish's head up out of the weed, because you pull hooks or you get busted off when they go through the weed. So.
Look, a lot of the anglers that are fishing this event are going to be watching this. What is your last minute standout tip of a lure to tie on for the Derwent here, especially with a little bit of rain that's been happening and the water might be a little bit stirred up? What would you tie on to catch the big ones?
It's pretty tough. Probably point to 65 XD. Something bright, flashy, red or blue and silver. Bang it into some rocks and hope for the best.
I think traditionally this river, it's got those bait fish in that are about that sort of 6-7 centimetres long. They're little skinny things, and lures like the presso minnows, the pointers, the little cranker minnows. They all sort of fit the plan of that little jerk bait, which gets them biting, doesn't it? And that high tide we've got in the morning, that's going to make that jerk bait by play, isn't it?
Yeah, sure will. We've actually done quite well recently on the little 50mm humpback minnow, Lucky Craft humpback minnow.
Yep.
When the bite's been a bit tough. But yeah, panishes, deep panish, shallow panish, just bait fish colours, pretty standard.
Yeah, look, and that's what people come to Tassie for. You can go and fish a gulp in the bottom and catch a bream anywhere in Australia, this river included. But this is the place you can go and you can rip jerk baits and get good bites, and they're big fish, and they're going to sing some line off you. That doesn't happen everywhere in Australia, but it happens in your backyard all the time. What's it like to live in the bream capital of Australia?
Oh, it's pretty good. A lot of sight fishing, big bream like we're talking about it. We've been saying, we think it's a bit tough. We still caught 10.5 kilos in the classic. That's pretty good.
That's over a kilo of fish average.
Well, last year we're comparing it to last year where we caught 13.2 or something like that. So yeah, but can't complain.
No, look, and like if you're watching this, the locals' definition of tough is our definition of paradise. So, you know, if you can go out and catch 20 or 30 fish a day on reaction baits, that is what we all come to Tassie for. What do you reckon about the record field? We have 39 boats fishing this time, and I think that's nearly 10 more boats than we've ever had before. That's the pull of Tassie, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's great to see.
Prize money's up there.
Prize money's good. Plenty of mainlanders coming. It's always good. They'll have a great time. They can fish a few other places in between. Hopefully the weather improves a little bit from what they were faced with when they turned up, but yeah, it should be a good week for everybody.
No, that's awesome, mate. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I know he doesn't like giving information, but he gave a few gems away there. We're going to see him tomorrow on the live stream each day from 2 o'clock Tasmanian time. That's it's like Queensland, mate. It's an hour and a decade behind the rest of Australia, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. We're pretty slow down here.
Yeah, it's all on the ABT YouTube channel. You're watching this on the ABT YouTube channel at the moment. If you subscribe and tick that little bell, you will get notifications when we come on. Let's run an ad from Cranka now about some of the lures that the anglers are going to fish this weekend. Rightio, we are back after that Cranka ad, and we have, you can read it down the bottom of the screen, two local Bream legends, Michael Alexander and Stacey Alexander. These guys of the Tassie contingent that came to the first event, or no, the second event at Gippsland Lakes. These guys beat Shane Ling, eh? You smashed Shane. Was it good to beat Shane over there, Mike? You came second in that event and caught some great fish.
Yeah, it's always good beating Shane. that was just an added bonus, really.
I think one of my highlights was watching Stacey, and I made a mistake at Gippsland. I said, "Oh, Hazy must have taught you how to twitch the baits." You're like, "Hazy didn't teach me how to twitch the baits. He just gave me a shot at those fish on the Tambo Bridge, and we saw you on the highlights catch a great one, Stace."
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was really good to do something different with a new person. You know, I always fish with Michael, so yeah, it was one of my highlights of the weekend, and it was really great to go with Hazy.
Yeah. So as I'll just summarise that. Border fishing with Mike, Hazy was awesome to fish with.
Yes.
Now look, you shot to prominence a few years ago. You rocked up in your little skeeter up at St Helens, and you caught him, and you ran one of the cameras for us, and some of the old highlights. We have you catching some fish. You're only a quiet sort of guy. You let your rod do the talking, don't you?
I try to, but it doesn't always work. I couldn't get them all day two there, obviously, and here I'm struggling a bit too at the moment, but.
Well, you're a boater here, so you're in control of your own destiny. Boater, non-boater, so you know you got no excuses here. If you don't get a shot, it's because you didn't give yourself a shot. You're from Burnie up in the north. What, about 3.5 hours drive away?
3.5, 4 hours most.
How different is the bream in the Derwent from the north coast? It's a bit different, isn't it?
Oh, we don't fish up that end.
No, bream?
No, we don't. There's not enough there to worry about, so we just travel. We're east coast or down here.
Yeah, what's your favourite bream fishery down here?
Probably the Swan River.
Yep.
Yeah,
pretty awesome,
yeah, it's great there. That's probably where we go most. We only come to Derwent usually probably once a year.
Yep.
For comp season. So
I want to know what your PB bream is down here, Stacey.
I don't know, about 40, I think. 40 centimetres to the foot.
Just a lazy 1.4 kilos. What about you, Mike?
Be around the same, 1.2, 3 kilo, something like that.
Yeah, but you get to catch like 15 in a session sometimes, don't you?
Last year was pretty good. Yeah, we got about 30 last year. So.
You're fishing as a non-boater, Stacey. You've got tips for the non-boaters fishing in the field. What is the number one lure you're going to have tied on this weekend to do the damage?
I'm a bit of a stickler for not liking change too much, so I usually stick to a zip bait, 70F suspending. So yeah.
And you, Michael, what's your gun one?
I'll have that on too.
There you go. A couple that fishes together and uses the same lure obviously stays together and fishes well. Look, thank you very much, guys. We're going to run a Costa ad now. Keep an eye out on how these guys go on the weekend. Stacey Alexander, Michael Alexander, you will see them in the live stream of the results.
If you're Mark Healy, you don't just live on the water, you live for it. You get up, get your shades, grab a spear, grab a boat, grab a friend. Okay, take a breath. Hold it. Hold it. Here, hold this. Go, go, whoa. All right, now find something to jump off. It's probably too high. It wasn't too high. Time to get going? Time to keep going. How's that feel? And now this is living. For those who need water to breathe, Costa sunglasses.
There you go. That's another ad from Costa there, our naming rights sponsor. And I have got our furthest travelled angler to come to Tasmania here. We've got Mike Sutcliff. Mike, you are a Tassie veteran, but you've come all the way from Singapore to fish this event, mate. Firstly, why not the mask? Are you going to give coronavirus to us all?
I really hope not. No, I braved the flight. No, it wasn't too bad, actually. Wasn't too bad.
No hysteria?
No, very little hysteria.
Did you bring any toilet paper with you?
No, I gather Singapore's gone crazy as well, and Australia's gone crazy. Yeah.
Should have bought toilet paper shares before you came.
Yeah, evidently.
Now, tell us a little bit about your history in Tassie. You've borrowed one of the locals' boat. James Mackay's lent you his boat very generously, and you are boating this thing because you normally are a non-boater here, but the temptation of being at the front of the boat is too good in this joint, isn't it? The fishing is great.
Yeah, no, the fishing's fabulous. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of history here for me. I mean, this is where I had probably my best day ever fishing. Yeah, anywhere in the world was right here on this river.
Well, wait a sec. Talk us through that day. Talk us through your best days fishing ever on the Derwent. Was it in an ABT event?
It was in an ABT event. I overslept.
Yep.
Simon Goldsmith had to call me up and go, "Are you coming to this at all?" And I was fishing with Sean Clancy, and he very kindly came back to the ramp to pick me up. He wasn't very far away, thank God, but he came out to pick me up, and he had a spot when we fished this spot, and we absolutely smashed him.
Yep.
And I ended up with, I think, 6.75 kilos or something like that for 5 fish, which was just unbelievable. I mean,
they're the days where you're throwing out 39s and you say they're no good.
No, exactly.
No good.
Exactly. It was just insane. It was crazy. So it was such a good day. And whenever I've been able to, I've come back because, like I say, the Derwent's really special to me. Well, Tassie generally is special to me. But
You do you still own a lodge up in the Highlands?
No, I actually sold it last year.
Okay, so you have owned a trout lodge up there, so you loved your trout fishing, you love your bream fishing here. A finesse fisherman's paradise, this joint, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. And I can't wait to get up to St Helens as well. I mean, I've had a good time up there before as well. But, I mean, I've been coming to Tassie since probably the late 90s.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's really special.
Let's go back to that day where you caught, six and change of bream. What was the gun lure used that day, and do you have one of those tied on now?
I have 2 of them tied on, actually. It was, of course, the Daiwa Presso. Yeah.
Presso minnow?
Yeah, a Presso minnow in the IU colour.
Yes.
The silver with the 2 yellow dots around the gills, and that just did the damage on that day. And I've used it elsewhere, and it still catches fish in other places.
Yeah.
But it's a real confidence lure. Yeah.
This is how good Tassie is. I think Craig Simmons holds the record of the biggest ever limit to not get a top 10 badge. I think he caught 10 point something kilos and didn't even get in the top 10 one year. So Simo, there's another record that you got that's not that special. 10 kilos wasn't enough to get in the top 10 here, and that can happen at this joint. Although today it seemed like that fish that are in that sort of 700-800 gram class have taken over this river, haven't they? It's not the 1 and the 1.2 kilos like it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, the old days, whenever you hooked up, you expected to see something really big come through the water, and you see that big bronze side. But now, like you say, there's sort of 34, 35 seem to be, there's plenty of them. Yeah. But that's good in many ways. It means the river's obviously still got some younger fish coming through it.
I think it looks like all of the fish that spawned the first time we came here back in 2006, that's 14 years ago now, they're growing up.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully they're not getting too smart.
That's it. Well, Mike, thank you very much. Thanks for making the trip all the way from Singapore. Thanks for that insight into your giant bag from the back of the boat. I think let's roll the Cranka ad again, if we can do that. And we are going to go to our last person, which is Mark Sarek from Queensland. Let's roll the Cranka ad. Boom, and that was magic. Here we go. We have another Queenslander. There's 2 Queenslanders sitting here at the Bellerieve Yacht Club in Tasmania talking about bream. Mark Sarek, you're a bit of a bream addict this year, mate. You came all the way down to Gippsland, did that whole big trip, like me, dragged the boat all the way back to Brisbane. Queensland Open got cancelled, so we could have probably left it in bloody Melbourne. But we're back down here. You've taken the ferry across, and we are down here in Tassie now. You did your first day's fishing on the Derwent today. Was this river everything you expected it to be?
Mate, it exceeded my expectations. We caught a few fish. Obviously, we left them alone where we could, but it was magical. There's no other word for it.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's like oceanic clear water here, but as you go up the river, it gets darker, but it's still clear, so you can still see 5 and 6 foot in the water, but it's sort of dark, fast-flowing water. The bream that are in this joint seem to come out of the middle of nowhere. Like some places, you can be fishing a weed bed and they just magically appear from nowhere. And the high tides on these edges, they come up and they appear from nowhere. We've got a full run-out tide. We start on the high tide and run all the way out. Did you work out some patterns today that are going to help you at the high tide, mid-tide and low tide? Like you got fish to burn or what?
Oh, we sort of just had a bit of a play around, but we saw, just those food sources. We pinned a few of those food sources when that water was up a bit higher, went back there when it was a bit lower, and just worked out. Don't waste our time when it's down, basically.
Yeah, that's right. As soon as it pulls off those mussels and stuff, that they're not there anymore. They go somewhere. I don't really know where they go, but they do go somewhere. Now, look, just give us a little bit of an insight of how long it takes to drive to Tassie from Queensland and to get the boat across. Take us through the process.
Well, so just the first day, I like to do a bit of a big stretch. So I drove from Brizzy to Mittagong, stayed there overnight. Had a feed, had an early night's sleep, and then just drove down to Melbourne the day after that. So I think it was 17 or 18 hours.
Yep. Then the boat, the ferry?
Then the boat, the ferry. So that was the overnighter. It got delayed, so we left the port a little bit later, and then struggled to sleep because it was pretty rocky on that trip over. You're trying to sleep on that bed and get thrown around the cabin, but otherwise it was good. It was well worth it after today.
Yeah. So 2.5 days basically get to here. Yep. You're going to be fishing here. You fished today at the pre-fish. Yep. Tomorrow you don't have to hold anything back, mate. Go and crack as many as you can on the head for 2 days. We have a travel day and then 3 days fishing at St Helens, mate. So what do you say to all those Queenslanders that say, I should have gone to Tassie and they didn't? Guys like Jamie McEwen, for instance. What are you going to say to him?
Massive idiot. Should have came.
He's loving it on his first day. Look, there are plenty of ways that if you didn't come to Tassie, and no one's perfect, you can follow us through the weekend. We have I'll be live broadcasting through the weekend, so that is Steve Morgan. Search that on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel and click in between 7 o'clock and 2 o'clock each day. The live streamed weigh-ins are also on YouTube. They're going to be at 2 o'clock each afternoon between 2 and 3 o'clock. They'll have the live scoreboards. Nicole does a great job on those. If you subscribe to ABT Tournaments YouTube channel, that this is running on at the moment, you'll get a notification if you hit that little bell, and each day you can see the weigh-ins. What I can promise you is you're going to see some cracking fish at these weigh-ins at the Bellerieve Yacht Club here. If you are at Hobart and you want to come, 2 o'clock each afternoon here at the Bellerieve Yacht Club, you can have a light ale, bit of a shandy, watch the weigh-in, and then watch the guys release the fish. And at the end of this weekend, we've got nearly $10,000 worth of cash and prizes that get delivered to the boaters and the non-boaters. Somebody's going to be crowned the champion. Is it going to be someone like Cricky? Who knows? He won it last year. Or is it going to be one of us Queenslanders? We travel well. We do well. Let's hope that we catch a few bream this weekend. This is Steve Morgan, Mark Sarek, checking out from the Bellerieve Yacht Club from the Cranka round of the Costa BREAM series. We'll see you on the weekend.